say a late good afternoon. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the Tata Steel Bhubaneswar Literary Meet held in association with Sambad. We are coming back to this city after 2 years, and I do not need to elaborate what sort of a period it has been for each one of us. So now we look ahead, and without much ado, I'd like to first welcome our guests on the days, and to all of you who have come today, thank you very much. So we'd like to start our inauguration, and I'd invite Mr. Sarvesh Kumar, Corporate Communication Chief of Southeast Asia and India, to say a few words.
Thank you, Malavika. Shri Ramakanta Rath Sahab ji, Soumya Ranjan Patnaik ji, Malavika, and our dear delegates from the city of Bhubaneswar. It's such a pleasure to be here back with you after a gap of a year. And this is the 6th edition of Tata Steel Bhubaneswar Literary Meet. Of course, we had missed the last year because of the pandemic, which had affected all of us. In fact, in the month of January, we had planned to have this meet, but again, when the third wave struck, we had to postpone it for a little while. Tata Steel is driven by the philosophy, ethos to work with the community that we operate in. So we not only want to do a business, but we want to work along with the community, help to promote art, culture, sports, literature. And in pursuit of these convictions, we hold such meets. And in the month of March only, we'll have the 3 literary meets. We had one in Ranchi on the 5th and 6th. We're having the second one in Bhubaneswar from today to Sunday, 13th. We're having the next meet in Kolkata from 22nd to 27th of this month. So our whole idea is to help imbibe, enthuse, promote literature, which some of us feel is a dying art now. Not only literature, but we are heavily invested in sports. And for people around us, you'd be all aware, we run 5 and 6 marathons in the country. We have one of the biggest chess championship in the country, in the world, Tata Steel Chess, where we have people like the world champion coming over. We also run one of the biggest school initiative that we have in the state of Odisha called YATS, Young Astronomers Talent Search, which we reach out to around 30 odd districts, have around 5,000 odd children participating in that. So as I said, it is a great honor to be here. We have a very long history with the state of Odisha, and our footprint is growing by the day. And we intend to continue, have more engagement like this across the state. This event, we are sorry that it's in the midst of a bit of a heat wave here, but this 3 days of event, you would have flavor of different genre, right, from sports to literature to film. We also have 2 good evening programs. That is in the Rail Auditorium, which is, I'm told, about 5-6 kilometers from here. So I urge all of you to come, join us, see the debate, see the thoughts which is coming out here, take part in the discussions, ask questions, and be involved in whatever we are trying to promote in this great city of Bhubaneswar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarvesh. I would now like to invite Mr. Soumya Ranjan Patnaik to say a few words. Without his Sambad, this festival wouldn't know about the pulse, the heart, and the thoughts of this city. They are the alchemist who allows us to bring literature into the city and present it in a way that is interesting and engaging for the city. I would always consider a plan to start the festival incomplete without a visit to Mr. Patnaik's office, where I pick his brains as well as the brains of his colleagues about what the themes, the topics, and the books we showcase should be for the following edition. So while I invite Mr. Patnaik, I would also like him to know that we are extremely grateful for this support and that the festival would really be a shadow of its current self without their backing. Over to you, Mr. Patnaik.
परम आदरणीय रमाकांत रथ महोदय, शैलेश जी एवं मालविका देवी, आज ये उत्सव पाई आमको निजर उपस्थिति माध्यम आशीर्वाद करने आसीथिबा साहित्य प्रेमी बंधुगण, प्रेस भाई भौणी माने एवं सज्जन मंडली, I am extremely happy to be here once again with a gap of 1 year. All of us have suffered in different ways the last 2 years of pandemic. We in media know it much better than perhaps many of you. And when Tata Literary Festival has started again and the news will go out tomorrow morning, it will give us a lot of relief and feeling. अभी लिटरेचर का फेस्टिवल शुरू हो गया है, नॉर्मलिटी शायद आ गया है. This kind of feeling will be attested tomorrow morning when we report back to our readers tomorrow. I am always happy to be in a function like this. I was struck by two slogans that Tata Steel have very thoughtfully crafted for this function. It has got to be literature, and we also make tomorrow. For a long time, whenever thought of Tata Steel came to us, I was always reminded of their most successful ad line, "We also make steel." Perhaps they've got used to it. They want to replace it with "We also make tomorrow." I do not know what is tomorrow, but one thing certainly I know: one cannot do without literature, no matter whether they make steel or they make tomorrow or whatever they have in mind. I am very happy to be associated, and whenever I think of association, we in public life are very keen to be associated, and we do pay a heavy price for that. कोई गुंडा के साथ सेल्फी ले लिया, 5 साल के बाद it will haunt you until the end of your political career. In this age of technology, it is very difficult to decide whom to associate with and whom not to. I am always reminded of Mahatma Gandhi's famous quote, "I am not afraid of going to jail. I am only afraid of the company I will find in the jail. Otherwise, jail is no problem for me." But I have no problem at all with associating myself with Tata Steel. It's a great privilege. It is my proud privilege rather to be associated. Malavika ji has been rather generous in talking about our Sambad and the media house that we run here, in giving us the credit which is entirely not deserving. It is her creation, her ideas, and we are only lending our name to get some credit. But let me tell you, while I say this, Tatas are close to Odisha's heart. Jamshedpur may have been your first landing in the industrial map of Odisha. Jamshedpur, even today, for a large majority of Odias, our own land. Tata has become Tata by taking iron ores from Odisha. Relationship of Tata with Odisha is very natural relationship, and it is very natural that Tata should be associated with promoting, sponsoring activities like literature in Odisha. I am grateful, I am thankful. I can only say it is a little late. Tata should have been associated with Odisha's literary movement long ago. Our literary tradition is a long one. Only a few days ago, we celebrated the Classical Language Day. Odisha is the only other language of the north after Sanskrit which is treated as a classical language by the government of India. And our literature is very strong and respected one. We are happy to have Ramakanta Rath ji. Ramakanta Rath ji was telling me that in which language should I address this audience. He was trying to find out from me. We lead a movement which is dedicated to promoting the cause of Odia language. He is perhaps conscious of the fact that isme aake, when I am one of the sponsoring persons, अगर उड़िया में नहीं बोले तो कल को उनके खिलाफ मैं कुछ लिख दूं क्या? उड़ीसा में लिटरेचर का कार्यक्रम कर रहे हैं और यहाँ आके अंग्रेजी में बकवास कर रहे हैं. प्लीज़ सर, प्लीज़ feel free to speak the language you like the most. You have been a student of literature of English literature. You are a great poet. You have been ruling this state. He was the ex-chief secretary and secretary to the chief minister of his time, and above all, he used to be the president of the National Sahitya Academy. Can you find a better person to inaugurate a literary meet like this? Administration, literature, and perhaps, and his book, Sri Radha, has been translated, God knows in how many other Indian languages. I welcome Sri Ramakanta Rath ji. I am extremely happy that he is inaugurating this kind of literary meet for us, and at the end of it, Tata is now has become a bigger part of Odisha that it used to be in the past. They started with our iron ore, all right, but they are now, they have their exposure and footprints in Kalinganagar, and their expansion progress, Odisha gets a great place. And they are now, will be responsible to give us 24/7 electric power throughout the state, in another associate of Tata's. And this is not without its blemish. कभी भी लाइन चली जाएगी तो आपको याद लोग करेंगे. अगर कभी वोल्टेज ड्रॉप हो जाएगा आपको गाली जरूर देंगे. आज के लिटरेरी मीट के लिए जितना थैंक यू हम करें, उतना ही गाली सुनने के लिए आप तैयार रहना चाहिए. All the same, you are our family members. We welcome you. Please patronize these kind of functions again and again. I do not know what people think. Newspapers and literature, they are wedded. Our first editor was a famous novelist of Orissa, Surendra Mahanti. Ever since, we have been wedded to literature. Some people do not like newspapers talking about literature. Journalism is literature in a hurry, as somebody said it. Let's not hurry up for anything. We are here with great pride to be associated with a great literary event, and with your presence and blessings, I am sure this movement will go miles and Tata's support will continue indefinitely. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir. It was wonderful to hear you speak so warmly about Ramakanta ji and his poetry, as well as with great warmth about Tata Steel, from their iron ore to the potential of being hauled over the coals for a power cut or a voltage fluctuation. There is not much more I can add about Ramakanta ji to what Soumya Babu said. We've been through a pandemic and it has affected each of us in a unique and particular way. And at times like these, many people who would have scoffed at writing poetry actually turned to it for solace. And one looked at, when Mr. Ramakanta Rath kindly agreed to be part of this festival, I once again revisited his Sri Radha and some other poems. And the melancholy and wistfulness of those poems spoke to me in a very current and painful way when I read them during the Omicron phase. We had to postpone this festival. It was a dark time. And I realized this is why poetry is possibly, I know there are many novelists here and people who write other forms of literature, but the one that makes us feel the most keenly. I really thank Ramakanta ji for taking time out and coming here today. Your poetry will always be an inspiration to us, but I'd also like to point out there have been times when he's not on the stage, but he sits there in the front row and listens to other people speak, young authors, well-known authors, first-time authors, and his warmth and his support for these other authors is something which I found very touching and very, very unique over the years. Thank you, Ramakanta ji. I will now leave the stage to you.
Friends, I congratulate Tata Steel and Sambad Group for having organized this literary function. This is significant because not only Odia literature, but literature all over the world is passing through a crisis. What is this crisis? Violence, malice, enmity. It has become so widespread that it has become difficult to transcend this and arrive at a region where the soul can find its language. As long as we do not transcend these limitations, it will be impossible to create literature that will survive. It will be difficult to create literature that would reach the readers. This is true not only of Odia literature, but literature all over the world. I would like to mention a couple of other points. Literature has no time limit. Every significant work transcends time and is available to readers whatever be the period they live in. Now, the works of many of our significant writers are no longer available in the market. I am not referring only to Odia literature, but literature everywhere. People have lost touch with very significant works written by their writers. Speaking of Odia literature, nobody today has access to the novels of Kanhu Charan Mahanti, to that significant novel Matira Manisha by Karindu Charan Panigrahi, or other works of writers. Now consider, if these works do not exist, will not our literature be reduced to poverty? Will it not become stale, lacking in appeal and lacking in meaning? Maybe private publishers are reluctant to come forward to republish these works, but it is for the government and for organizations controlled by the government to identify these works and republish them so that the reader is enabled to read the works that are immortal. Now, obscurity has become a fashion all over the world. If a work, a poem or a story is easily understood, it is said, it is held that the writer is no writer. If it is obscure, it somehow is respected. Now, what is the purpose of literature? To reach the reader. That is the main purpose of literature. Now, if a work does not reach the reader, has it succeeded? Now, consider the immortal works of world literature. None of these works is obscure. They are easily understood. So, therefore, it is time for us to start a movement for promoting literature that is easily understood, that reaches the reader, and that is not obscure. Thank you.
Traditionally, we open the festival with the person who's inaugurating signing the canvas. So Ramakanta ji kindly did that earlier. So we will simply unveil it to start proceedings for the 6th Tata Steel Bhubaneswar Literary Meet. Thank you, guests on the dais. I now request our audience to just wait for a few more minutes till we reset the stage for the first session. I would now request Abhishek Das from Tata Steel to take us through the safety precautions in this venue.